Aloha, it's Christine Pensa, and this is episode 113 of the Awakened Woman Self-Care podcast. Today, we're looking at stories and how you can observe and notice their impact on your sacred self-care. Episode 113 of the Awakened Woman Self-Care podcast. And I'm Christine Pensa. This episode, cut 113 on Friday the 13th. This is a real divine feminine. Once again, my former co-host, Emma Kupu-Mitchell, would love the synchronicity of these numbers, 13 being the number I always associate with the power and fertility of the divine feminine. And as we know, and as many of us are feeling, those stories of the divine feminine are really opening and awakening in so many of us at this time on the earth. And so that brings me to the topic this week, which is story, the power of story, and how stories have been so integral and I think essential to a lot of the journey that we have undergone as humans. They have been so beautiful and powerful stories, and also the polarity of that is that they can also become a prison. And so as we tune into the idea of story around our own sacred self-care, this is what I wanted this episode to be, is just this opportunity to hear some perspectives on story and really pay attention to the stories that you want to invite in to the beautiful vessel and container of you, and those that you are ready now, as we are as a collective ready to release. And I'm going to share right out, because I don't know who told this or this was so long ago, this story of the gazelle, and I found it to be such an awesome reminder for me. I've repeated it many times over the years. So whoever you are that shared it with me, thank you. But the story, it goes like this. So there is a gazelle galloping across the savannah. Beautiful. It's a beautiful day. And the gazelle feels and senses something is lurking in the shadows. And so she begins to run because her adrenaline gets up. And so she runs and she's galloping. And sure enough, there comes a lion out of the bushes, chasing after her and nipping at her heels, and strikes out with a claw and manages to scrape across the hind end of her. And yet the gazelle pushes further and pushes the speed on, and then runs and manages to narrowly escape the lion, who does not have the stamina to keep up with her. And so she escapes. And in that moment, the gazelle knows that she's in a safe place. And so she shakes, her whole body shakes off. You've seen animals do this. They just shake. So she shakes the adrenaline and the the story of what just happened to her, and she moves on. And so, um, we tend to then carry that story with us. So you wouldn't see the gazelle 10 years from now sitting around a coffee clutch saying, and then you wouldn't believe, but a lion came out, scraped me, and reliving the story. And each time she does, relives the story, she's bringing back that vibration and frequency that she maybe felt. So she doesn't do that. So, I've always gone, okay, so I need to be more like the gazelle. I need to shake it off. I need to release in the moment. And sometimes literally, it just feels great to physically just shake it off. Absolutely. But whatever it is for you to do, the sacred self-care is when I am repeating this, and sometimes we need to share it with somebody. I'm not saying that. Sometimes we need to go, oh my goodness, I can't believe this. And when we share it with a friend who's not going to amplify the energy, but just allows us to let the story out so that it can be released, that's great. That can be really helpful. But when we find ourselves repeating the story so many, many, many times, that's when we are becoming entangled with that frequency. And that's when we are putting ourselves in a box with that energy. Sorry, loud motorcycles going by outside. So this prison that we can make for ourselves, or this box, or and one of the things also that I wanted to share. Oh well, we're just going to hear the motorcycle. One of the things that I wanted to share is to notice when we are using stories to limit ourselves. We can start this language, noticing our languaging. I always ... fill in the blank there, or I never ... or I can't ... And it's really interesting when you notice that. In fact, just the other week, I was telling somebody, friend of mine, about how I had tried again. You may know Wim Hof is he's the Iceman, and he had. I've tried the cold shower challenge probably about a year ago, and then I tried it again this summer, and I just found it was challenging, the challenge. And so I was telling my friend that I had tried it again this summer, and I said, and I don't think that I can do it. And as soon as I said that, I kind of went, oh, well, wait a minute. I've created a limitation for myself. And so is that true? And so a few days later, I went, okay, no, I'm going to try it again. I'm going to see how maybe the way that he was doing it, because he's hardcore. He's awesome. I love him. And I've done the breathing, and I was like, yeah, right on. The breathing I'm good with. But the cold I was really struggling with. And so I went one day, and it was cold that day. It's warm today, but it was cold that day. And I said, no, I can do this if I choose. I can choose something different. I can create something different in this moment. And so I went in, and I did it in my own way and with my own methodology, which probably would be different than what he had suggested. But I stood in the cold and I allowed myself to breathe through it and not panic. And I have to say, it was really satisfying. And part of it was that I had no longer boxed myself in with the narrative. Now, that said, I created something that could work for me. So I'm not doing that every day, but every so often I think, yeah, today I need a little bit of shake up. Today I need to shift my story a bit. And so making that transition from, warm, comfortable shower to cold um, is something that could be really helpful for me today. Just, and it doesn't have to be that. It can be something where you step out of this story that maybe you've been running. Um, and so that's the invitation here in this moment of opening yourself up. And the other thing I want to talk about around story is that stories can also, and as I said, stories can imprison or stories can open us up. And so hearing somebody else's story or hearing kind of an archetypal story can open us up to the cosmos, to our connection to all that is. The stories that the land tells us is really incredible and beautiful. And so, in the time before there was books and screens, really was the power of the land and all the, let's say, non-English speaking creatures who live upon her, speaking to us. And we would listen through our beautiful body temples, walking on the earth cathedral. We would listen to the earth and the elements, and we would dream with the land as co-creator. Our dream time is, and that's going to be the next podcast. I'm going to talk a little bit about dreaming and how important our sleep is, and dream time, but that's a whole other, I just felt that go whew, opening up. But so we would be in such tune and step with the earth, who held for us a lot of our origin story. And so what the other part of story can do is help us come back into alignment with our soul as the creator of our own sacred story. And this is such a, for example, I was speaking to a friend this week, and I was saying, we were talking about how, opening up to certain things, and how there are certain images and archetypes and metaphors that are really beautiful and heart opening. And one of the ones that I was sharing with her was that I said, the archetype of the Arthurian legend and the round table is something that is popping up for a lot of people right now. And that, the round table is very opening in this moment, right? Because what the symbolism of that is that, Arthur had the table as round so that everyone who came to the table was the same. everyone was equal. Everyone was the same sovereign, connected being. And so, as we're moving into this time right now, where you're hearing so much about sovereignty, and you're hearing, um, and you're really stepping in to reclaim more of that kind of story is a heart opener for me. I mean, that's how I experience it. Um, I don't need to go right into all of it, but the symbol of that um, really opens something for me. And as I said at the beginning, the symbolism of 13 and the divine feminine and, the path that we know as in these female bodies. Like there's a deep knowing that's opened up by just even seeing the number 13, because we have this knowing that that's our moon time, that's our shedding and cyclical um, journey with the earth. That's our, in the ways that, and also, of course, there's all the distorted ways that that's come in, but all the undistorted truth of that and our own connection to being with and of the earth and being the creators, the creatrix, the ones who birth and allow both literally through our bodies and figuratively. And so that is a story. The stories I know a lot of women get just really expanded and opened up by the story of Mary Magdalene, for instance, or Isis, or and that opens up your cosmic perspective as well. So these stories that can open us, absolutely, welcome, welcome, welcome in, and yet also just allow them to move through so that you can open up into the next story and the next part as you unfold this as this beautiful sovereign creator that you are. And let go, just like the gazelle. Shake, 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 and let go of these stories or these incidents that come up in our daily lives and just allow them to be released. And then as we're releasing all the ones that don't serve us any longer and in fact are draining our energy and diminishing us, let's welcome in and weave back into our hearts those stories that we want to create moving forward. So bring back this sovereign freedom that is you and elevate your sacred self-care by opening up to the new stories that you wish to create and co-create with others in this moment. That is the beauty and the power of coming into this space of really honoring you, honoring, loving yourself through your sacred self-care, noticing and paying attention. That's all it is. And coming back to you, because you should be the number one priority in your life. That's the story. And it's a story of expansion and joy and love, and it does not diminish you or anyone else. So, the invitation really for your sacred self care is to begin to see that you are the one that is, you're the one in charge. You are the sovereign being who is here to create your own story. And so, where are those places that you have given your power away to stories that you no longer need to run? So, release them and allow yourself to open up into this true creator being that you are, into this really divine aspect of you that is sovereign, that is sitting at that round table, co creating this new world that we are coming into. And as I talked about the round table, I wanted to share one of my favorite Hafiz poems. And I often read this for to my mandala classes, um, or at least part of it, but I want to read it again today. And um, I would invite you to also, if it's possible and safe to do so, to close your eyes and then just take this beautiful poem in as a kind of meditation. So it's All the Hemispheres is what it's called, and it's by Hafiz. So close your eyes. Leave the familiar for a while. Let your senses and body stretch out like a welcomed seasons onto the meadows, shores, and hills. Open up to the roof. Make a new watermark on your excitement and love. Like a blooming night flower, bestow your vital fragrance and happiness and giving upon our intimate assembly. Change rooms in your mind for a day. All the hemispheres in existence lie beside an equator in your heart. Greet yourself in your thousand other forms as you mount the hidden tide and travel back home. All the hemispheres in heaven are sitting around a fire chatting while stitching themselves together into the great circle inside of you. All that is in our daily lives. I am, as we're moving into season 3, I do have some guests planned for later in the season, and at this moment, I am taking in ideas and suggestions for show topics. So, if you have something that you'd like to explore and you have a question or comment about it, please send it via email. You can send it to Christine with a CH at artthatmoves.ca. That's my personal email. And if you are listening to this episode in November of 2020, I just wanted to mention that I have 2 ceremonial workshops coming up called Your New Sovereign Story, The Evolution of Your Sacred Narrative. The first one is live in person in Port Credit, Ontario at Shaman Sisters, November 17th from 7 to 9:30 p.m. The second is online, open to everyone, and that is Sunday, November 22nd from 2 to 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So thank you so much, and may your sacred narrative to continue to unfold in ways that are joyful and heart-opening to your own evolution. I love you.